welcome back to In the Loop. I'm your host, Taylor Harmon, and I'm so glad you're joining us today. We've got a special episode lined up as we shine a spotlight on Operation Roundup and the Bright Ideas Grant, two incredible programs that are making a real impact in our communities. And there's even more to celebrate. 20 years of Bright Ideas. That's 2 decades of innovation, support, and empowerment, all made possible by people just like you. Let's dive in and explore the stories, successes, and the bright ideas that are lighting the way forward. Joining me today is Jenna Addison, our Public Relations Coordinator here at Coweta-Fayette EMC. To kick things off, Jenna, can you introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about your role at Coweta-Fayette, and give us an overview of Operation Roundup and the Bright Ideas Grant?
Yeah, so I oversee Operation Roundup, the charitable arm of Coweta-Fayette EMC. And through this program, our members voluntarily round up their monthly bills, and those small contributions add up to make a really big impact. The funds collected are awarded to local nonprofits, educators, and students in our service area, all with the goal of giving back and strengthening the communities we serve. And one way we do that is through the Bright Ideas Grant. Every year, $30,000 is awarded to local teachers who have creative, out-of-the-box ideas to make learning more fun and impactful.
And also joining me today is Mary Thompson. Mary is a teacher and one of our recipients of the Bright Ideas Grant. Welcome, Mary.
Hello.
So let's get started with a little background. What inspired you to become a teacher?
You know, the cool thing is, I think I was born with a heart to teach. I remember back whenever I was in kindergarten, I started helping my dad when he was helping my mom try to pass the test for driving. I remember going over the driver handbook and helping my mom and doing notes and all kinds of things and then cheering her on. And I think that, was that moment when I said, that's what I want to do. So I just started doing that. And then as a child, I played school, and that was one of my favorite things to do. I'd line up all my stuffed animals, and I'd teach to them. I had a chalkboard in my room, and I'd pretend I was teaching. And my dad also was very pivotal in this because he worked shift work. And something that you and not many people know, he was an electrician for a power company.
Okay.
Yes.
Full circle.
Yes, he was an electrician for a power company. And he had to work, 24/7.
Mm-hmm.
So the plant had to run 24/7. So they had to have 3 shifts. And so through that, I would write him notes if I didn't see him for like a week, because he'd have a different shift each week. And I'd write him notes. But the really funny thing was, when I got in 3rd grade, I remember starting to correct his misspelled words. I would circle them and tell him how to spell them right, and had him write them 10 times. It was so cute. And we had we made this little mailbox, and I put the little, letter in the mail, and then in the morning, whenever I woke up, he would have seen that and wrote his words 10 times, and right back, and we just write back and forth. So communication, but it's always been there. It's always been there.
Yeah. I mean, you already were kind of so creative in learning. Can you kind of go into that more with your unique style in teaching?
Yes. I try to engage them. I feel like if you use as many senses, evoke an emotional reaction, then they're going to remember it more. And I like to have the classroom come alive through their work. So I like to bring in the community as much as I can as well, doing different things, and from having guests come in, or things brought in from the community if I can't get them to go on field trips or anything like that, bring it to them. I like to do real world experiences with them, and get connected with the world and use their talents and gifts for good, because I think all students have talents and gifts. They just need to tap into them and kind of know how to make it to where they can use them for good.
We've sat in on your class before, and it is very alive, and you can feel that. So we kind of talked about the environment, but what are some of the challenges and opportunities you see in education today?
I think community involvement, that is my platform. Businesses like EMC and the Roundup program really helps out with getting involved in education. I think it takes a village, and I think that that mentorship is very needed in our schools now, and building leaders.
Right.
And when they see leaders from the community and leaders and companies take a big interest in them, they get to kind of see what they might want to be when they grow up,
right.
or what their track is.
So let's move on to the grant process. And when did you first hear about the Bright Ideas grant?
I heard about it about 5 years ago from a colleague, and I was like, and then I saw it in the Noonan Times Herald,
Okay.
And then I was like, you know what? I'm going to try for that.
Yeah.
I'm going to try. And I will tell you, the first year I didn't get it.
Yeah.
And that's okay because, I know that there's a lot of different teachers and different needs. So that didn't deter me. So then I tried again the next year, and then I got it. And so, but it's really a great process. If you have an idea, big or small, even though it says bright idea, it's a bright idea. It's not. It doesn't have to be big. It hasn't. Any idea that is something you want to bring to your classroom and you need extra funds for, this is the place to go. It's not a daunting experience. It's really easy online, and it really helps out the program, helps out my program because they can get things that I wouldn't have resources, the money for.
Can you go into a little more detail about the application process, going to our website, applying there, and kind of the steps after that?
Yes. So what I usually do is I go to the website, and there's an application there, and it just lists, first of all is finding a name for your grant. That's the main thing, is finding something that will stand out and explain in a nutshell what you want to do. And so get that kind of get your cool title. You go to the website and plug that in, and then there's just step after step you just plug in, and it's real easy because it talks about if you have partial funding, what would you do? A project, the summary, innovation, describe an innovative or creative way this project will create learning experiences for your students, your goals, implementation, benefits, and then you just have to kind of go online to the vendors that we have that we're allowed to purchase through our school, and then just go online and get how many, the quantity of what you need, the name of that, and then the total price, and even shipping is included with that. And then your total price, and then that's it. I mean, it's really a simple program.
And you've won the grant a few times, correct?
I have.
And do you have any tips for applying, and maybe something that would stand out, maybe the projects you've done in the classroom? Do you have tips about that?
Some of the projects that I've done, I find that if you do something that you can get others involved, not just your classroom, but other classrooms are touched by it, I think that may look better on your application. But I was just thinking about this the other day about what the different names of the ones I've come up with. And like I said, it's kind of, you just find something that kind of stands out. So the first year I did a science nature cart school-wide. So I bought a little cart with my funding, and then every month I changed out the little cart showing nature, and I put it in a prominent spot where all the students got to see it.
Cute.
Yeah. So I did that, and then the next year I did Level Up with STEAM, and so I just bought a whole bunch of things to do with technology and science, technology, engineering, art, and math. And then last year I did Homegrown, One of Our Own, President Jimmy Carter. that was a really neat program. And I wanted to talk about that because it made such a huge impact on the community and the students that this year, one of the students went down to Plains, Georgia, and was in the postcard contest for that they have for Jimmy Carter, 6th grader, and she won first.
Oh my goodness, that's awesome.
Yes, and that was through the whole. I mean, it wasn't just the state of Georgia; it was all over the nation celebrating his 100th birthday. But she had that foundation from whenever I did that. Whenever I taught STEAM for the whole school, that she knew about Jimmy, and then she got first place. But and then I have to say that I was very excited that one of my first graders also won. She won 3rd place. So I went down there and celebrated. But it was really neat seeing her in the audience. I didn't even know. Yeah. So you just never know what seed you're planting and what, on down the line, what you've done.
That's so inspiring.
Yes.
Wow, that's awesome. And it sounds like your projects are making a lasting impact. And as Taylor mentioned, you have been awarded a couple of times. Did you have a favorite project or one that stood out to your students more? And can you tell me about it?
Well, I also want to talk about this year's was hands-on history. And that was really fun too. Because if you make it come alive, I think it helps them understand the past better. Make it memorable, share with others. We invited, and I think I even invited y'all to come into the classroom, and that was so fun. We had rotations of the students. They worked in pairs, and they had that class was my fourth grade class, and they were doing George Washington, everything about George Washington. And so every rotation station, you learned a little bit about George, And so we even had a little guy dress up as George Washington. It was cute. It was really cute. But I invited all the grade levels, K through 2, and they had like a speed round where they just go around the room and for a few minutes, and they'd listen to each presenter and then rotate. I just really enjoyed that.
There's so many skills in one project. Speaking, creativity. Oh, that's awesome.
Yes.
And hands-on. I really like that. And it involves other grade levels.
Yes. So that hands-on history, some of the things that we purchased with that grant was clay. They loved working with the different kinds of clay, paint, acrylic paint. We had canvases, different kinds of paper, special paper, watercolor pen, markers, things that they don't have access to, and I really don't have in my budget funding for. And I had one student say, you know what? Your classroom is the only one that would get to use all these fancy materials. And I said, you can thank EMC and the Roundup for that. So
that's cute. I guess your inspiration behind the project, or was there a problem or opportunity that you were trying to address?
I just really wanted them to understand different people in our history that's made a difference, and knowing that they could also make a difference, and learning those character traits that we have and the certain leaders that we've had and the certain circumstances that our country's gone through over the years. I wanted them to understand the resilience, the diligence, all of those kind of those character traits that, that you want to ingrain in students to be able to have that grit, to have that dig. And that's what I like to present to my students. Leadership, learning leadership, shared connections, diversity, and all that. That's what I wanted them to come away with. And I think they really did.
They did.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was awesome to see.
Yeah, and have you seen changes among your students or in the classroom since you were able to implement projects with the extra funding?
I really do. I really did. Because they have that confidence, not only a certain confidence, but also like they're doing something that is meaningful.
Mm-hmm.
And so whenever it's not just a project or it's, just for a certain grade, it has meaning behind it.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to share this with littles, that's what we'd say. We're going to share this with littles. So they're like, okay, so I need to make it like this, and I need to say it like this, and I need to have it, to where it gets their attention. But you know what? They're learning as they're doing it too.
It builds their confidence.
It does. It really does. And I think it levels up their understanding, not only their understanding, but their appreciation, as well as wanting to do their best and wanting and being able to use the fancy materials that we have and the fancy, markers and all the kind of stuff that we have to do the project through the grant. I think it gives them a extra boost of confidence as well.
Yeah, I think it's also a part that I like at the Bright Ideas grant, that coming into the classroom and us being able to do that with your students. And I think it really shows them like how awesome their teacher is, how it just it needs to be celebrated. It is such a big deal, and you put in all this extra work for them, and it's just we appreciate you guys too. So
yes, and I love it. I love the big sign that you had this year with the big pencil. I had that up all year round. And, every time they'd say, oh, I love this kind of, I got magnets with that we made little button magnets too with the grant. And they were like, I love this, or anything that they were using, we'd point to the, okay, thank you. And we'd say, thank you, EMC, thank you, Roundup. And so that was really neat having that pencil. But what was really, another thing that was really cool was the bookkeeper, actually, when the items arrived, she had it on this huge cart. Oh. And so she came and delivered it to us. And I had the fifth grade that day. I had the fifth grade that day. And so what they did was I had them unload it.
Oh,
unload
like
all
Christmas.
The stuff. It was Christmas. So, that was awesome.
Yeah.
That was just a great part too, is unloading all the loot.
Yeah. It just makes school so much more fun and hands-on, like you said. Love it.
Yes.
So it sounds like you've gotten some pretty good feedback from the students. Any feedback from parents or colleagues?
Oh, the parents are really happy with all the stuff that we've done this year, all the extra stuff and the excitement that they bring home, because, if they're excited in the classroom, it's going to spill over in the home.
Oh, yeah.
And so I've heard a lot of things like that. And then, yes, whenever I invite the other grade levels in and to have the students rise up and present and they get to see and hear from the others, that the teachers are so excited. I mean, we just stand in the middle of this rotation station and we just watch it. It's just a phenomenal how they just rise up and do it themselves. And it's like they're taking ownership of their learning experience and sharing with others. So just I've got a lot of feedback and from those teachers that came to see.
Just inspiring everyone. It's awesome.
It just keeps on going.
Well, before we wrap up, is there any other comments or anything else you wanted to touch on, whether it be with teaching or with the Bright Ideas grant?
I just want to say thank you so much. It really does help, and we really appreciate anything that we can get to give our kids a little extra in the classroom. I just want to thank everyone that participates, and I want to encourage all teachers that if you have an idea, like I said, big or small, it doesn't matter. Just try. And if you don't get it the first year, that's okay. That's okay. Try again. You might get it. You might get it on down the road. But I'm always available if anyone wants to email me or contact me. I'll be glad to help any fellow teacher that is wanting some help filling out their application. No problem.
Well, thank you so much, Mary. And that brings us to the end of today's episode of In the Loop. Be sure to check out our socials to see Mary's class project, Hands-On History.
And if you're a teacher and interested in our Bright Ideas grant, applications are now open on our website, utility.org, and will close August 12th.
A big thank you to Jenna and Mary again for joining us and sharing more about Operation Roundup and the Bright Ideas Grant. And congratulations again to Coweta-Fayette EMC on 20 incredible years of supporting education and community initiatives. If you've enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss what's coming next. Until next time, I'm Taylor Harmon. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.